You are listening to the Mark Guzman Podcast Experience. Every day in the Bay Area, you see another story talking about the Bay Area housing crisis. We have had plenty of discussions on Real Realtors about whether or not there is indeed a crisis. Today, we look at some factors that could be contributing to it, such as traffic, prices, availability, and Mother Nature. Our panel today is Eric Wong of Winkler Real Estate and Daniel Ripper of Climb Real Estate, and we will pick their brains for what they think is contributing to the current housing climate in the Bay Area. We even get into some of the best restaurants in the Bay Area and Brazilian Jujitsu. All right, so thank you for coming to another episode of Real Realtors. My guest today, we have Eric Wong and we have Daniel Ripper. So welcome to the podcast.
Thanks, Mark.
Thank you.
So let's get started and jump into this format. So this is where I basically we just sit around and chat real estate. And we're all in real estate here. So Eric, let's start with you. How long have you been in real estate and what company are you with right now?
I've been in real estate about 15 years, a little bit longer, and right now I'm with Winkler Real Estate Group. It's a small boutique company in Albany.
Okay, I've heard of them before. Yeah, they've been around for a while, right?
Yeah, a little bit longer than I've been a realtor. I used to be with Prudential California Realty, and then when I decided to switch from a giant corporate company to a smaller company, I've known Daniel for 15 years, and he's always been an upright guy. So I talked to him about joining his brokerage.
What was the biggest change from going from a big company to a smaller brokerage?
That I can get answers and get requests immediately, or get whether yes or no, I can get the answers immediately. Working for a big company like Prudential, it had to go down to the campus and over to headquarters. I'm very active in the membership at Oakland Berkeley Association of Realtors, or Berkeley Association of Realtors back then. And so I would do a lot of events and try and ask for funding or ask participation from my company for events. And it was just, Danny just either says yes or no. I don't have to wait a week for someone else.
You go through the whole corporate chain for approval.
And also, really, at a small company, you get taken care of a lot better. I remember at Prudential, I was used to doing all my own flyers and doing all my own signs and doing all my own marketing. Danny's really set it up so that you ask and they take care of all that for you. In fact, remember the first time I went there and someone was doing my open house signs, I was like, whoa, you guys are blowing my mind right now.
And Daniel?
I've been in real estate for just a little over 14 years now. I started with a small mom and pop, got my broker's license to open our own brokerage, left that brokerage, went on my own, and now I'm currently with Climb Real Estate. They're based out of San Francisco, but growing up and down.
And they have a big presence in Oakland.
They have a huge presence in Oakland. The one in the South Bay is growing exponentially. And from my understanding, they're moving to Southern California as well now.
I think, didn't they just partner up? There's a Berkeley brokerage that just partnered up with Climb, I think. Or bought Climb, maybe?
No, NRT bought Climb, which is like the largest brokerage.
Okay, yeah, because they own Coldwell Banker, too.
They own parts of Coldwell Banker, the Shark Tank gal, her brokerage, Corcoran Group in the East Coast. But yeah, so I'm currently there for now. Yeah.
So how do you like that company? Because I know they do a lot of marketing and they do a lot of Zillow, correct?
They do a lot of Zillow. They do a large amount of marketing in Oakland, especially in Oakland. I like Climb for the technological aspect of it. I'm not going to say I'm tech savvy, but with all the new tools coming out and the way the whole real estate market is shifting, Climb is definitely in the forefront with the technological aspect of it.
So just having that tech available for you, or is it that they handle the tech and then just feed you the leads?
Both, actually. They actually give you all the tools to use so you can grow your own business. And if you're part of certain teams like Fast Agent, or actually they have an inside sales team now too, they will feed you the leads, and then you'll be expected to know how to use the tools as well. But it all translates when you want to do your own business as well. And I geek out with technology, and so getting it, tying it in with real estate just makes it more fun.
Yeah, Climb is an interesting company. I've been watching them for a while because they started in San Francisco as a group of, I want to say, 13 agents that broke off of one brokerage, right?
They broke off. I forgot the name of the brokerage. It was a Vanguard or Paragon or one of those, and then they just took it to the next level. I mean, their niche is, I want to say, new development now. So in the form of whether it's high-rise buildings in San Francisco or even in Oakland now, to new subdivisions. They just closed one in San Ramon, Danville area too. So,
Okay.
yeah.
So, yeah, it seems like the trend right now is going away from bigger companies and into smaller companies. But then I guess then you deal with a company that is like Climb that started off very small and now they're becoming a pretty big company.
Yeah, just from my experience, I honestly like smaller companies. They say that things won't change once you get bought out by a bigger company, but it's inevitable. I've learned that it's just the corporate way. You start off and nothing's going to change, and when a bigger corporation buys you out, it just happens. I mean, things start to change automatically. Sometimes for the better. Not everything is always good, but sometimes there's more support.
And as owners, it's also hard to, let $1 million opportunity or multi-million-dollar opportunity go by, right?
Yeah, you got to make a good, smart business decision, right? So,
yeah. So, Eric, what got you into real estate?
I was a member of the Cheeseboard Collective in Berkeley.
The Cheeseboard Collective.
Yeah,
What is that?
It's on Shattuck in Berkeley. It's in the Gourmet Ghetto, and it's a collective. Back then, it's more people now, but it was about 35 people who together owned this bakery cheese store, and
awesome.
It started in the as part of that 70s movement. Became a collective, and so I worked there for 6 years, and I was part of a collective. We all owned the company. Decisions were made on a consensual basis for the entire group. And for 6 years, I didn't have a boss. And so after that, I couldn't go back. I mean, I couldn't go back to having a boss again. Once you get a taste of it, it's just like, you just can't go back to having a boss. And so I had to find something that I could do. And unfortunately, I got my degree in English from Cal, so that wasn't like a very saleable skill in a lot of markets. But, I looked to real estate. All my uncles had always done real estate when I was growing up. I remember looking at them thinking, I'm never going to do that. And and here I am. And, it's been 15 years. And it's funny, I was talking to someone last night about how, I chose real estate because I don't have a boss. But I think you'll attest to this too, Daniel will attest to this too, that in a lot of ways we're harder on each other, on ourselves than a boss would be, because we work late hours, we work the weekends, we work 7 days a week.
I think if you're going to be successful, you have to be.
Yeah,
absolutely.
But I just can't do that 9 to 5 thing anymore.
Yeah, the flexibility in real estate is awesome, but at the same time, you have to hold yourself accountable.
Yeah,
right. Small company, big company, they say they can help you, but ultimately, you have to hold yourself accountable and run it like a business.
Yeah, you're going to be as successful as as the amount of effort you're willing to put into it.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of people, especially right now with the market being so hot. It reminds me of like 2004, 2005, where everyone's trying to get into the market right now to be a real estate agent. And I think a lot of people, the flexibility is great, but you also have to take phone calls and many times work in the evenings or on weekends, because that's when people are available to look at houses.
But, we were talking about the technology, and it's so different now. When I started, or when you started too, I remember driving all the way to Half Moon Bay just to get a signature. And now we can just do it by DocuSign.
Yeah.
But, I was talking to someone else about this last night. I think the market's harder now than it was 15 years ago when I started. There is a possibility that if I was starting now, I may have not made it through the first year. I mean, it's so hard to get someone into contract now.
It is, yeah.
I've had a few brand new agents come onto the podcast in the past, and that's one thing I've told them is that the market today, if you can figure out the market today, you're going to be a great agent, or especially if you came in during 2008 and 9, during those really tough years. if you were able to,
Yeah, if you were to make it then.
make it then, that makes you a really good agent because you kind of learn how to adapt through the business and navigate the market.
Well, I think also back in 2009, it kind of forced, at least for Oakland, Berkeley, where I did my business, it forced us out of our little bubble, because we had to deal with a lot more different kinds of agents and in a much more variable market. So, you had to get out of your comfort zone. And especially for Berkeley, where we're so enmeshed in our little boutique-y comfort zone that I think it was horrible to go through that experience, but it was, in the long run, I think it was good for us.
The entire industry shifted in that time. So, I mean, we had agents who were veterans for 30 years plus who were lost. You had newer agents who landed REO accounts and flourished. I mean, it was just an entire revamp of the just the market and the business in general in that time. So it kind of, to me, leveled the playing field and opened up all the opportunities that are happening today too. As well,
I think CAR lost a third of its membership back then.
Yeah, they probably doubled it now, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're at 200,000 now.
Wow.
At CAR.
Okay.
Yeah, OBAR finally breached. I think we're up to like 2,100 members. Oakland Berkeley Association of Realtors, which is great for us because now we get a seat at the table at CAR.
Nice.
Yeah.
Good. Yeah.
So let's talk about the housing shortage. I know we're all experiencing this, but how are you dealing with the housing shortage? Let's start with Daniel. Like in your business, because now do you deal mainly with a lot of buyers or sellers?
These days it's a combination of both. Because of the housing shortage, the listings aren't as high as I wish it would be. So it's awesome when I have a listing. It's almost like a guaranteed paycheck, right? I get to guarantee my seller that we can most likely hit this amount, and sometimes or most times it actually will get them over that, right? Exceeding whatever they were expecting. So when I do work with my listings and my sellers, it's a great thing because I get to position them into the market in the strongest negotiation standpoint and have all the buyers come to us, and they usually get the pick of the litter. Now on the opposite side, it's a little bit more challenging because the market has a shortage of inventory. So how do we structure our offers to where they get accepted? How do I educate my buyers? Because if they're a first-time home buyer or even just a buyer coming onto the market after selling their home, how do we structure an offer to where they can be the winning offer in such a competitive market with multiple offers and prices that are exceeding whatever comparables that I can show? So that's the biggest challenge right now are my buyers. I have a range from $500,000 buyers all the way up to multi-million-dollar, and they're all getting outbid, right? Even in that multi-million section, they're getting outbid. I'm writing offers 20% over asking with no contingencies, and I'm still losing, and they've got 60% down, right? It's mind-blowing. So that's the best. The hardest part right now is just educating my buyers on that. Seller side, it's a lot more easier. We'll dress up your house. We'll make it look nice. We'll put it on the market. Aggressively market it.
And we'll sell it for $1 million cash.
and we'll bring you an all-cash offer, and you can move out in 10 days. Yeah. So, yeah.
How are you dealing with the shortage of the market, Eric?
It's really tough. All my clients, it used to be traditional that we'd put clients into homes and then 7 or 8 years later, they'd be ready to move up to their next house. And so you'd get them back again and you'd have a listing and look for a new house for them. But now, those people that I put into a house 7 or 8 years ago, first they bought at the bottom of the market pretty much. And now they'd be paying a whole lot more for not that much bigger a house, and so they're just not selling. So that's I think that's part of the reason why we don't have the inventory.
That's very interesting because you would think someone with as much equity would want to sell.
Yeah, but they're the only reason that, like almost all my listings last year were people moving out of the area, divorce,
Yeah.
or people downsizing. It wasn't that regular person who's like, I have a baby, I need to get a bigger house, because they just can't. They'd be getting a higher mortgage, higher taxes, a lot more money for not that much bigger a house. I mean, everything points to them either moving away or just hunkering down and staying in their house. Most of my business now is referral or past clients. I still meet people at open houses. It's still the fundamentals of real estate. But you just have to work so much harder. I mean, like when we first started, you'd do, for a buyer, you'd make 4 or 5 offers and you get them into a house. Now it's like 8 or 10 offers. And
Yeah, even more sometimes.
Yeah.
Especially in the Oakland, Berkeley area.
Yeah.
Across the board.
Well, last year or the year before, when we started hitting that $1 million mark on just every little house, it was so, we get new people in from other areas, and it was just so hard to tell people who had $1 million to say, okay, well, I can get you into a 2-1 and the kitchen needs some work and you don't get a garage. I mean, that's just mind blowing. I mean, to say, and I've kind of gotten over it now, but back then it was just, wow, this is someone with $1 million, and I have to say this to them.
Yeah, especially if they're coming from out of state.
Yeah.
Even if they can afford it, but coming from out of state, it's a big sticker shock to you.
Yeah.
To see what you can buy for $1 million.
Although I will say that in the last 6 months, because I know you said you were having some problems with educating buyers, they are coming in a little bit smarter than they were when we first started. I mean, I think the internet has raised because it's much easier for me to talk to people about dropping contingencies now than it was in the past, because they see the way the wind is blowing a lot easier.
That's also tricky to advise clients to remove contingencies, because you just never know, right? Yeah. They go out, buy a new car during the transaction, and even though it's their fault, but or inspection, something comes up, and that's just always a tough call right there.
All I can do is advise them that this is what's winning. You have to decide whether and I explain all the risks to them. In the end, they have to decide if they want to take the risk. But I'm saying this is the kind of offer that is getting accepted now. Yeah,
you're pretty much giving up everything, all contingencies across the board, waiving all of those, offering something usually 10, 20% over. Good luck explaining that. Hey, we're ready to write an offer? Okay, here's what we have to do. Give them your shirt, right? And so, the education part is the toughest. Sometimes it's good, it's always good to have a good lender on board with you. It helps sometimes if the lender gives a listing agent a call. I mean, I like that too. And if the lender can explain, here's the situation, here's our scenario with this buyer, they're a slam dunk. It's a little bit more at ease when I have listings too.
Yeah,
So.
And the whole housing shortage, supply and demand, right? I mean, there's very little supply, extremely high demand. I mean, CAR came out with a stat: we're short 1.5 million units in California as of right now. I mean, that's just ridiculous.
Yeah.
Well, just look at the Thursday tour. I mean, pre-2008. I mean, I obviously wouldn't see this many houses, but the list of houses on the broker's tour of all the areas I would pull would be like 160 homes or something like that. This year, there's been, on average, since January, 45 homes.
Yeah.
I mean, that just shows you where we are with inventory. And even back then, that wasn't enough houses.
Yeah, I got into the business in 2003, and at that time, the average person would sell and move every 4 to 5 years. Now it's 14 years.
Yeah.
I mean, that just puts a huge strain on the housing supply. Now, in the Bay Area, we all deal with a ton of traffic, right? And I think we're battling constantly with LA as far as, and it's not something to be proud of, but who sits in traffic the longest, right? And I think right now, the Bay Area, we sit in traffic the longest. So when dealing with buyers, how has that affected their decision to buy in certain neighborhoods? When do they consider traffic as a big deal?
It's buyer specific. A lot of my buyers, especially in the Oakland, Berkeley area, prefer to be closer to BART, since they commute to the city. But most of them don't really take traffic into consideration. Now, the farther out we go in the Bay Area, than they do. So if I have a buyer who wants to be in Pittsburgh or Antioch and then has to travel to the city, or even Vallejo,
And that's, what would you say, like 25 to 35 miles?
It's about a good 30-mile drive. If you're in Vallejo, it's a two.
But that'll
bridge.
translate during commute times like a 2-hour drive.
Yeah, even more than that. So I'll run that by my buyers who are considering going that far out because they are getting pushed out of Oakland. I mean, they want to start as close to San Francisco as possible, and as soon as they understand what the market's like and what they can afford, it just keeps getting pushed out more, or even less competition. My buyers who are able to stay in the immediate Bay Area, they prefer BART or aren't necessarily too concerned with traffic because most of the buyers these days are somewhere in their 30s, probably working remotely from home more than half the time, and if as long as they don't have to go do a 9 to 5 Monday through Friday in the city or where there's a commute, the traffic doesn't really affect them as much.
Yeah, I think there's a statistic that the young people that are buying homes now have the lowest per capita car ownership of previous generations. So what they care more about is, are we close to a bus line that can get me to BART, that gets me to the city? I mean, Winkler Real Estate Group does a lot of new development in West Oakland, and I was talking to one of the guys that just bought a house down there, and he said, "Yeah, it takes me 26 minutes to get from from Dogtown to the Embarcadero. And that's bus and BART." And I was kind of surprised, but that's easily doable, so it's not a big deal. And younger couples who have been more open than they were in the past to being out in Richmond and looking for houses there, that argument about that bear of a commute on 80, I've gotten less and less pushback on that because they know where they can afford, and this is that's where they have to go.
Yeah, and I've seen that same trend on the property management side with rentals, that if you have a rental property near BART, it's going to go for a huge premium compared to something that's farther out, like 1 or 2 miles.
Yeah, I mean, it matters to me actually too, because I can't think of the last time I actually took a car to the city. It's just such a hassle.
It's a process, and it sucks. I grew up in the city, so to see the city changing the way it is good and bad. But I prefer to stay on this side now, especially in Oakland, because there's a lot of good restaurants, a lot of good places to go and hang out.
Yeah, let's talk about that, because we were just talking about craft beer before we actually started recording. Richmond has quite a few craft beer companies starting to they're startups, and you have Armistice Brewing Company, you have East Brother Beer, but let's talk about some of your favorite craft beers.
One of the ones that I go into is in Berkeley is Fieldwork.
Yeah,
Fieldwork's awesome. They're right off of Gilman and 6. When I'm in Oakland, I'll go to Temescal Brewery. Temescal's a great area, a lot of good restaurants there.
I've actually never been in Temescal Brewery because the line is so long to get in there.
Oh, see, we're real estate agents, so we can go during the day.
That's right.
For a lunch meeting. No.
That's one of the benefits, right?
Yeah. If it's not so much just a brewery, it's tap rooms. I mean, they're popping up everywhere.
A new one just opened in Albany, Ocean View Brewing.
Okay, we'll have to go check it out.
Yeah. The other one that also opened up in Alameda is Admiral Maltings.
I don't know about that one.
Yeah, so their main core business is they sell malt to brewing companies, and they decided to open up a tap room at the very front of their building that features, Sam, how many beers? They have like 30 or something beers?
20 plus.
Yeah, something like that. And all these beer companies that have their beer there use Admiral Maltings for their malt. So they just opened up maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago.
Nice. It's in Alameda, huh? Faction.
Alameda,
I think Faction
Yeah,
Breweries out there.
Faction has a great. They have a great space though. I mean, you just sit out on that, and when it's warm, I mean, you sit out in that great view of San Francisco from Alameda Island. Actually, all of Alameda is going to be pretty interesting once when they start doing all the development on the old naval base and all the housing that's supposed to go in there. I mean, it's going to be an incredible change for Alameda.
Is that right next to the Brooklyn?
Yeah, on the kind of across the water there. Yeah.
And where I think the next hidden gem is also going to be is Vallejo and Mare Island. They have a brewing company and I believe a wine company now out there, and they're developing more houses. They've got the golf course, and they still have a lot of land to improve.
I don't even know if Vallejo's that hidden anymore. I mean, last year I think it was rated like one of the most active real estate markets in California. They came out of their bankruptcy, rebuilding the entire city, relatively affordable housing. We were talking about how far people were willing to commute. I get up at about 5:30 to go to the gym, and the commuter reports are coming all the way in from Mountain House and Trace. I mean, people are getting up at 4 a.m. to make it to the city to go to work. Insane. It's crazy.
Yeah, and Vallejo is pretty neat because it's a very easy drive, 20 minutes, maybe 15 minutes on a good day, directly into Napa Valley. And then you can easily commute to Marin County, Sonoma, go down to San Francisco, and then, of course, you've got Reno. I mean, it's a great place.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Bay Area in general is great for that, right? You go south, 2 hours, you're in Monterey, Santa Cruz, right? North, same thing.
Now, in the Bay Area, one of the things I've had questions about over my career, and this really comes from outsiders, is how much do we worry about earthquakes? So how much do your buyers actually worry about earthquakes when it comes down to the home buying process?
I make them aware of it. I mean, I don't. I mean, because it always comes up because they ask, should I get earthquake insurance? Because it doubles your insurance basically, and I always say, I would put the money into the retrofitting before I actually bought the insurance, because most of them have like a $50,000 deductible but there's an actual percentage. I can't remember what it is.
Like I said, I grew up in San Francisco. I was in high school in '89 when the Loma Prieta hit, so I'm used to the earthquake scene. When my buyers are asking me, it's not so much of a worry to me. Maybe it's just embedded in me now, so I'm not too concerned about it. But it's something that if they are concerned about, they do get their geological reports. They can go and do their homework, but they're not going to be able to understand it until they're sitting in one that shakes the entire building.
But I think buyers they do look for, it is a bonus if the house is bolted to the foundation and shear walling is installed, or that they can make plans to do that pretty quickly after they purchase it. I don't think they're thinking about it like, I'm afraid of buying here, or I don't want to buy here, but they're aware of it so that they know that they do have to look for the bolts or look for a way that they're going to do that pretty soon after buying the house.
Yeah, it's always interesting to talk to people that live outside of California, because they're like, man, you live with all those earthquakes, because there's like hundreds of earthquakes that literally happen every single day,
right.
But we don't even feel 0.5%, I think. I mean, you just don't feel them.
Yeah, the last one that hit, what was it, right in Berkeley? I think?
The 4 point, whatever it was.
Yeah, it felt like a tickle to me. I don't know.
I have a really bad habit of, and I grew up in San Francisco too. When the earthquakes hit, I freeze like a deer in the headlights, because I'm just in my head. I'm just like, is this it? Is this the one? Is this the one? And then while I'm thinking about it, I'm just frozen. I don't do the dive into the doorway or any of that stuff, because I'm just like.
So, Eric, let's talk about your channel, Lunch with Eric. How did this concept start? And I'll be honest, the reason why I'm bringing it up is because I love the concept, and basically you try various different restaurants for breakfast, lunch, dinner, and you're posting pictures about the food and discussing what you like about it.
I think it's hard to grow up in the Bay Area and not be aware of our food scene.
Absolutely.
And I grew up. I started working as a dishwasher in kitchens when I was 13, so I've always been very aware of front of house and back of house. But my Facebook site, Lunch with Eric, started last year, because the first quarter last year was really slow. I mean, there was nothing going on, and so I was like, what can I do just to at least keep my interest going, keep me. I never started something on Facebook before, so I wanted to kind of hone my skills on getting everything going on Facebook. So I just started the site as kind of a fluke. I mean, it has taken off. My whole food stuff has taken off more than I thought it would. I definitely recognize as someone to ask where should I go for a restaurant. I get even from strangers or agents I barely know, will ask me. I have friends coming into town. Where do you think we should go, or what's the cool new place to go? And I love helping people out. I haven't quite figured out how to market it yet, and I am working with a new real estate coach, and we're trying to figure out a way to bring it into my whole part of my whole marketing plan, because definitely people recognize me as a person who knows restaurants.
I'll give you some advice right now if you're willing to take it. When you go to the restaurant and you eat, do a quick 15-minute podcast, interview the owner or the manager about why they work there, or even better, the chef and how they came up with the dish. 15 minutes, record it on your phone. Now you've got it posted everywhere, and now you've got a podcast plus photos for Facebook.
That's a good idea.
So that would be my recommendation. But yeah, I mean, I follow you because, I'll see some of the restaurants and Revival Kitchen and Bar in Berkeley. That's one of my favorite spots to go to.
Yeah, unfortunately, they stopped doing their breakfast sandwich.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I saw that. And I was like, oh, man, I got to go catch them for breakfast. And, yeah, they stopped it. Yeah. Their dinners are great, though.
Yeah. It's one of my go-to places for sure.
And they have great cocktails.
Yes. A great cocktail program.
Yeah. Daniel, do you have a favorite restaurant?
There's just so many.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of the last one I went to that was, when, I guess it's area specific, right? So when we're in, like we said, Temescal, there's so many new ones popping up all the time there. It comes down to mood. I'm looking forward to Fob Kitchen. I guess they're opening up now.
Yeah.
So I'm excited about that. Como is good. And let's think, because when I'm on this side in Walnut Creek, or Peruvian restaurant in Lafayette just opened, really good. I can't forget the name of it, but they're really good too. And the Hideout in Lafayette's another one. I can keep going. But,
yeah.
But Temescal is hot this year already. I mean, my favorite sandwich place is opening up a branch in Temescal, Stay Gold. A new ramen place is coming to which will be open today, actually, will be its first day. It's coming from
it seems like
San Francisco. And then Fob is going to be coming to the old Juhu Beach Club.
Yeah.
And
seems like ramen is starting to pick up as a trend of not basic ramen, but you have high-end ramen.
Yeah. Well, also, this is coming out of New York a little bit, but also people willing to experiment with ramen, like breakfast ramens or ramens with chicharron in it.
What's the new one that just? Well, it's not new. It's been about 6 months. Ipudo? Is that
Ipudo? It's that chain, and it's from a chain in downtown Berkeley.
No, there's the one that moved from New York.
Yeah.
Okay,
But it's part of a Japanese train. Yeah.
Okay. Any good?
I like it. It's not the best ramen I've ever had. They have a great a Japanese version of a bao.
Okay.
That's actually
really
pork.
good.
That's really tasty. It's good ramen. It's not the best ramen I've ever had.
Yeah.
So I've got a business lunch today. We're going to Berkeley. Haven't decided on the restaurant. Where should we go?
Oh, how casual is it?
Very casual.
I really like Funky Elephant, which is the people alumnus of Hawkers Fair, opened up a Thai place on Gilman.
Funky Elephant.
Seating's pretty limited. If you're looking for something that's really great that just opened, there's Augie's Montreal Smoked Meats, which is on Potter, 875 Potter, near the New Berkeley Bowl, and great Canadian versions of pastrami, and you can get poutine there, and it's if you're a meat eater, it's a really, and Lex, the owner, is a really great guy, and I really enjoy sandwiches, so they do good food there.
How do you find out about what's new and what's coming out? So
I read a lot of food blogs. It's become kind of my hobby. I just like, and I like trying out new places, and it's just fun for me.
Well, I think that's what any business owner should do, especially us in real estate, because it's such a people business, and there's so many real estate agents, and a lot of us do very much the same thing on a large scale, right? We all have our unique ways of doing things. But I think the way people connect with us is based on, well, how do they know us, or they follow us? How do they connect with us, right? I mean, there's clients where they meet with you, it just doesn't connect, so they go use someone else, right? That happens all the time. And so I think just taking your hobbies, taking what you enjoy to do, and just putting it out there as a marketing tool, but you're also not, you're not advertising your homes and listings constantly on it.
Yep.
People will naturally look you up and, oh, Eric does real estate, and then they'll ask you real estate questions on your food blog, right?
Yeah, for example, I know a realtor who, when she first started, she loved softball. So she joined the softball team, and she didn't join it because she said, there's an opportunity for me to sell real estate. She said I really love softball, so I'm going to join softball. She ended up selling a house to almost every single person on that team, because people get to see you not as a realtor, but as this person who's really enjoying this activity and sharing it with other people. And then, like you said, they find out, oh, you're a real estate agent. I like you as a person. I'm looking for a home. Let's talk.
Exactly. Daniel, do you use your hobby as in your hobby, Brazilian Jujitsu?
Submits them into an offer.
Yeah, absolutely. Put them in a headlock, right? Most people. I do own a Jiu-Jitsu academy as well.
Oh, where is it?
It's in Lafayette. La Marinda Jiu-Jitsu. My partner Adam Dunkel and I opened a little over a year ago. So you're both welcome to come and train anytime.
Yeah, thank you.
You want.
How's that going for you?
Great.
That seems like a great opportunity, though, to meet people.
It's absolutely. I don't know if you follow jiu-jitsu too much, but there are all walks of life do jiu-jitsu. You get the wannabe UFC fighter, the 18-something-year-old who wants to go in and beat people up, and you get the attorney. Or
I actually followed through my food thing, because Anthony Bourdain is a huge jiu-jitsu
I was just going to bring that up. He started that when he
Yeah.
was 50.
Yeah. And now he's like actually ranked and everything, isn't he?
He's drinking the Kool-Aid and just talks about it all the time. It's on his show and everything. So, all walks of life. So I don't directly tie into it, but people know, what I do for a living, and I try to remind them every now and then that this is what I do, and so if you or your family or anyone needs help.
And you just won a competition just recently, and I believe you won on a Kneebar, correct?
Yeah, that was a Fight to Win. They're a professional jiu-jitsu organization. They travel the country and put on shows in every state weekly.
And that was held at the Richmond Craneway Pavilion, which was pretty awesome, because I've never been there before.
Oh, you never been? That's a great area.
I was impressed. It's a large space, and I mean, and for the competition, they had it blocked off, but that goes on forever.
Yeah, it keeps sprawling all the way down.
Well, if you have a friend that comes from out of town, they have a great restaurant out there for brunch and breakfast, and because there's a great view, a dramatic space. It's in where they used to assemble the cars. It's called Assemble. That's
it's right next to Rosie the Riveter.
Yeah, and that's a great place to take people from out of town or people new to the area.
Nice. Yeah. But gorgeous location. It sprawls the entire Bay Area. You can see San Francisco all the way to the North Bay.
Now, you went on a Kneebar. What's a Kneebar?
Kneebar, okay. So a Kneebar is where you isolate one of the legs.
Demonstrate on me.
Yeah.
No, don't demonstrate on me.
Yeah, you isolate one of the legs. You want your hip to be as close to their hip as possible, and you're grabbing their heel or close to their foot, and you're hyperextending their knee or their leg until they either tap and submit,
or the leg snaps.
Were you always into martial arts, or?
Not so much. I got into jiu-jitsu by way of real estate. So, we talked about 08, 09, the REO days. I had a few REO accounts that kept me busy and was really stressful. So I needed an outlet so I didn't burn out. And my nephews were doing jiu-jitsu at the time, and I tried it a few years back when Royce Gracie won in the UFC. So, I decided to do it and fell in love with it again, and never looked back. It's a great outlet for work and everything. So.
I do have to say, for young agents, getting into some kind of physical routine is really good, because we have a very, I wouldn't say it's sedentary, but it's not a very physical job. And doing something physical like I said, I get up at 5:30. I go to the gym. And not only does it get me up and give me the discipline of getting up and out every morning, but it kind of gets your blood flowing. Once you're done, you start answering your emails. Your day, you've set yourself up for a good day.
Yeah, I teach a 6 a.m. class for the same reason. It keeps me disciplined to wake up early. And plus, it's a small, nice niche group of people who will always show up.
It gets your day off to the right start.
Oh yeah, I mean you're fighting for an hour and a half in the morning, getting your offer rejected or having to negotiate with a seller is gonna be peanuts compared to someone trying to crank your knee or choke you, right? So, yeah,
I would imagine Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is one very meditative because I think there's so much technique to it that I think you're constantly thinking about this technique that you zone out of everything else in life, right?
It's like a chess match. The difference in ranks really is aside from all the techniques. Well, let's take that a few steps back. Techniques, yeah. Every technique probably has between 3 and 7, 8 steps, right? So you have to focus on doing it right because it's all leverage. We use a lot of leverage in it. If you're using a lot of strength, you're not going to last very long. You'll get tired quick.
But also, you're facing off against an opponent, so you have to be very present. You can't be just daydreaming about.
Sure, yeah. So when you spar, yeah,
about how mad you're at your client for.
Oh yeah, if you're sparring and you think about something else besides what's happening at the moment, you're gonna die or get tapped out, right?
Yeah.
So you have to be in that. So it's like a purge.
Yeah.
So after the session, you feel a lot better. Take a shower right away, please, after, and then go to work, and you feel ready for the day. I mean,
because like I said, getting the thing done in the morning, I'm usually done with my emails before some of my colleagues even wake up in the morning, and it's great to get a jump.
I did that for a little while, and it's so hard for me to get up in the morning because I'm more of a night owl. Go to bed at midnight, 1 o'clock, and then but I did that for a period of time where I went to bed early and then got up around 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. And it was pretty impressive, like how much, like especially in emails, how much you can knock out before the day even starts. And then your entire morning is so easy.
I think for me, I know my weaknesses. The reason why I get up early to go to the gym is because I know when I say to myself, oh, I'll do that at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I never do it at 3 o'clock in the afternoon.
that's cocktail time.
Yeah, that's right.
Happy
Or beer
hour.
time. Yeah.
It's funny you say that. There's that. I don't know if it's a myth or not, but the 3 martini lunch. And so one time I tried that because I thought, no, this is what these did in the 50s or whatever. There's no way. I mean, third martini or whatever is like, you're just inoperable for the rest of the day.
Find a client that likes the 3 martini lunch too, and then go from there.
So what advice would you give to brand new agents coming into the market today?
I think it's discipline. I mean, for most of these new agents, this is your own business. You have to think of it as, I'm not joining a real estate company. I'm starting my own business. Mm-hmm. And you've never, before when you've had to work for someone else, you have to get up at a certain time. You have to show up to work at a certain time. When you're starting real estate, there's no one telling you that you have to get up at a certain time. So my biggest thing when I see new agents is you have to have a discipline. I mean, you can stay in bed all day. You won't make any money, but there's no one making you get out of bed if you want to stay in bed all day. But you have to get up every day and do the work and do the marketing and do all that stuff.
One thing that maybe I should have mentioned earlier with Climb too is they're very team-oriented. And if you're a new agent and you're thinking about coming aboard, a good idea sometimes is to join a team. There are a lot of successful teams out there. Sometimes the brokerage is a team, like Daniel Winkler, and he runs his brokerage like a team. And from there, you have a lot of support and understanding of the business. And when you're ready to branch out and do your own thing, with technology, there's many tools out there to support teams now with lead generation, with just running your business. And if you're a new agent, you're thinking about coming aboard, that might be one way of doing it. But ultimately, it comes down to discipline, running it like a business, because nobody's there to tell you what to do.
Yeah, and for a lot of new agents, it's the first time they've ever had someone, breathing down their neck and telling them what to do, and they're kind of at a loss in the beginning. But the team thing is really big. I know that a couple of years ago at Inman, that was like almost the whole theme of the show was everyone's team building, and I'm part of a team now. And, I mean, it's a small team, just two of us, but
yeah, there's some people that are really against teams, and when I started, I ended up being on a team. That's how I started, and I mean, I'm a fan of teams just because I think my level of knowledge and education in the industry just skyrocketed compared to if I was just at it on my own. But it's surprising. There are a lot of people that are anti-teams.
I think also for me anyway, at least coming from the collective experience, it's good to be on a team because you can share things with someone that they can support you in what you're doing. You can share your frustrations and share your victories. It's real estate can be very isolating. You're working by yourself all day. You're kind of trying to put things together in your head, and just having that other person to talk to and work problems out with, or having someone with more experience trying to give you ideas is so valuable. I started off by in a big company working by myself. I wish I had started in a team. I think it would have been a lot more productive in those early days.
Yeah, I think for someone new, it's probably ideal to go that route, unless you're self-motivated entrepreneur and you can get the extra education. When I first got in, I jumped right in and got my GRI, my CRS, just to make sure this is actually what I wanted to do. So I got the extra education on how to take a listing and how to negotiate and how to properly, write off certain things and, how to do a business plan. So if
time management.
Time management. If you're thinking about getting in the business, those are all just, all these attributes you have to have, and a lot of soft skills, and, it's good in investing in yourself with it.
Great. Yeah, I think when I first started, I was like the king of seminars. I would just go to workshops, and there was always, even for the most goofy workshop, there was always usually some kind of nugget I could take away from it.
Like an aha, right?
Yeah, great. So I want to thank both of you for being on the podcast here. Eric, let's start with you. If someone wants to contact you, what's the best way for them to do that?
You can send me an email through eric@erichwong.com, and that's my website, erichwong.com. Don't send it to ericwong.com. That's some guy in Singapore who does not like me.
Daniel?
You can reach me at my name, Daniel Ripper, RIPPER.com, or Daniel@danielripper.com. If you're looking at learning how to do a Kneebar, check out
check out his gym. That sounds great.
La Marinda Jujitsu. You can just Google Lafayette Jiu-Jitsu. We're the only academy on the 24 corridor there.
Nice. Yeah. Great. Yeah. Well, thank you guys.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you so much for listening to the podcast. Thank you to our producer, Sam Lubman. Please subscribe, like, comment, and share the podcast. Remember, you can listen to the podcast on iTunes, Podbean, iHeartRadio, Google Play, SoundCloud, and anywhere else you listen to podcasts. For more information on my business as a property manager and real estate team, go visit my website at markguzman.com. I really want to thank all of you for listening. It means the world to me, and I hope today's episode provides you value in your day-to-day life. I created this podcast to help showcase the many great people that live in this world and help share some knowledge that I've learned along the way in life. Again, thank you for listening. Check out our sponsors, and I'll catch you on the next episode.